Welcome, everybody. My name is Jeff Pierce. I'm an architect with GlideFast, and with me today is Lauren.
Hey, I'm Lauren Toomey, and I'm a technical consultant at GlideFast.
Yeah, today we're going to be having a chat about the future of Service Portal, UI and UX in the ServiceNow platform, and is there a difference between them, what some of our favorite projects have been, and what else are we talking about, Lauren?
I think you've pretty much covered it. Favorite best practices, that might be one.
Okay, yeah. I'm going to try to put you on the spot as much as possible.
Thanks, that's my favorite.
Okay, so first, let's talk about what do you do at GlideFast? What are your creative responsibilities at GlideFast?
So I do Service Portal, but mostly I work in the design area. I do a lot of design work for clients. I do some development as well. I do design and develop, but I've recently been doing a lot more design mockups. I spend a lot of my time in Adobe. I'm very familiar with Adobe and just staring at that all day long. But what's the difference for you as an architect and the portal?
Yeah, so as an architect, I feel like that's primarily about sound development, right? Something that you can build on. And so as an architect and a portal expert, I'm always trying to balance this line of the architect in me wants to stay out of the box as possible, but
Mhm.
then the creative part of me knows the flexibility of the platform and what we can do, and wants to take it far and innovate. So it's as an architect, I think it's a lot about deciding when you stay out of the box and when you go custom, and how to judge the value between the two.
Yeah, I like that. I think we definitely have a fear of custom, but it's not always something to be feared.
Yeah, and when it comes to something like Service Portal and other areas of the platform, like what does custom even mean? Does it mean anytime we write custom code or anytime we create a custom object? It's I think it's more and more in today's age we have to really define what it means now to be custom development. That becomes such a kind of a boogeyman term.
Yeah, I think it varies from client to client. Some people are like, "That's custom" when you add a little bit of CSS, and you know, other people are like, "It's nothing."
it, it becomes custom whenever we don't want to do it, right? Sorry, that's custom and out of scope.
Yeah, that's our line.
Yeah. Well, ServiceNow has done a lot of really great work in terms of what would you call it, UI and UX, right? Especially if we look at where, what the interface looked like 10 years ago and what it looks like today, even the ServiceNow website and going through the training and, all of their various sites, it's pretty impressive, I think. And it's nice to see that they've placed that emphasis on that. But what do you think as a consultant, even though ServiceNow has done quite a bit in the area of UI and UX, where do you still find yourself adding a lot of value?
Um, I think the pieces are there. Like they've definitely given us a good interface, but sometimes we still have to advise on the best routes to things. I find doing that a lot. Clients sometimes don't put important things where they should be. They'll bury them. So we kind of have to like suss out what are the important things, where should we put those, how quickly should I be able to get to those, should I be able to get to those from anywhere on the portal, or should they only be in one spot, things like that. And I feel like it really varies from client to client, because I can't always say that the best user experience for one client is going to be the same as another client.
Hmm. Right. Yeah. So what we're saying is ServiceNow looks a lot better than it used to, but it's still like, even though something looks good, if it's not in the right order and if it's not named well and it's not strategically implemented, it can still be a user interface nightmare, right?
Right. I definitely think so. It's not I mean, we want to say it's like a one size fits all, but you do have to do a little bit of digging into your own organization to figure out what kind of changes you might need to make. And they're not always big changes. It's just, making sure everything aligns with your organization.
Well, how do you think an organization does that?
User interviews, something that we've been focusing on a lot, talking to the people that are actually using the site and
Yeah.
making sure that we're getting their input and we're not just getting input from the people at the top who think that they know what people need, but it's just a guess.
Yeah, I have projects where we go through the effort of the user interviews, and our customers are very excited about that, to find out what their customers have to say, and then we collect all these requirements that are focused on what we heard from the users. And there's always still this immense temptation for the project team to implement their own stories, to be
Right.
like, oh, but I want to be able to publish this and do this. And I think it's really important to almost have like, let's do a first phase just focused on what the users told us they need, right?
Mhm.
And then let's do a second phase on all those other things that we think we need, right? That could be a really good way of approaching that, I think.
I like that. Yeah, because there's always a disconnect between the two.
Yeah, and I think also the culture of organizations saying we know better than our customers, right? We know better than our end users. We're not going to take requirements from them. We're going to tell them, give them a system that we know they need. I think we are realizing that over the past however many decades of using terrible business software, that that's not a culture that can survive, right? We really do have to take our requirements to the front lines and like find out from the actual end users what what they need to accomplish their job, and what kind of experience would be good for them.
On that note, like, what do you think is the future of Service Portal?
I've heard some people telling me that quit focusing on it because it's going to die with UI Builder coming and all that. And but I don't quite agree. UI Builder is definitely coming, and it's going to change things. But Service Portal will still be around for quite some time.
Right.
We have the new Employee Service Center that was just released with a new theme and all kinds of really cool new widgets that were really only just, well, we basically just took the wrapper off of it. It's so new, right? We barely know what it does. We're waiting for documentation, but this is the next level of Service Portal. And the great thing is it's built on Service Portal, right? It's not new technology. It's still using Service Portal. So we can expect Service Portal is going to be around for time to come. I think it's a perfectly viable, not just perfectly viable, but a great solution for building front ends to any of your ServiceNow applications, for building widgets of all kinds. I can't think of any reason not to continue using Service Portal, even though we have the advent of UI Builder coming. And we know that UI Builder components, forgive me if I'm not using the exact correct terminology, but that kind of stuff is making its way into Service Portal now, like the new
Mhm.
AI search, right? The actual widget for the AI search input and results. That's not actually an Angular widget. That's more a UI Builder component, something like that. Again, don't quote me exactly, but yeah. So yeah, I think Service Portal's here to stay for at least several more years. At least, I mean, we know how long CMS stuck around. Service Portal's great. I got no
Right.
qualms with Service Portal. I want
Yeah.
it to stay. Yeah. What do you think? We're talking about UI and UX, and I know this is these are funny terms, right? They're kind of buzzwords, see them all over. Everybody's kind of got their own application of them and how they interpret them. What do you think the difference is between them, and what their uses are in the ServiceNow platform?
Yeah, I think the user interface is just kind of like what we're given by ServiceNow. We're given the widgets, we're given the components. It's the text that we put on the page. It's the devices that our users are using. And then the user experience is going to be what we do with all of those components. How do we place them on the page? How do we design them? How do we enhance them to make them better if we're adding any functionality? The sequence in which we want users to go from component to component. I think that's really the difference, but they're always going to work together. They can't really be separated.
Yeah, I agree. I think the user experience involves the user interface a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
But before I get too far into my interpretation, I guess I wanted to back up and say, like, I think it's time to really combine the two, right? And we've done that with our COE at GlideFast. We were trying to think of what to call it, and we ended up calling it the UIX, user interface and experience. Because I think, experience, right? That speaks of the broader experience of using an application, right? And not just what the interface that you're using, but even the services that are available, right? And how then the service fulfillers actually deliver that service to you, right? So the experience has a whole lot more than just the interface. But in a thing like ServiceNow, and especially in the organizations that we typically work with a lot as consultants, I think that splitting the two up kind of defeats both of them, right? Because if we start to really think about user experience, it starts to seem too big to handle on its own, right? It's like, if you're really going to separate it from UI, boy, we need a team, we need detectives, we need psychotherapists, this is, much bigger. But if instead we just rebranded the whole thing as UIX, right? Which I guess is the best way to sum that up is user interface with a consideration of the overall experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like we know that we can't control the whole experience, especially if we're just, say, a ServiceNow developer or an admin, and all we can do is create the catalog item. We don't actually get to define the service or how it's delivered. We only have control over our little ServiceNow world.
Exactly.
Right? But that can't stop us from thinking about as much of the experience as possible. Right? We still need to go as far as we can and think about all the things that you said, like its placement on the page, the language that's used, the emotional connotations that the language that's used delivers, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a lot of service portals with very negative language used in it, where I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I'm bad for logging a ticket here. The service desk hates me.
Right. I think sometimes that's our secret, is that we're also a little bit of copywriters when we do this.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, exactly. And that's an excellent point. I feel like language is the most, it's one of the things that are most important in a service portal design, but quite often gets the least amount of attention, the language that's used. And if you want to even think about something about like improving your service catalog, the number one thing you can do is think about how you named everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's amazing to think about, like, one of our number one things that we can do to improve user experience in ServiceNow has nothing at all to do with design or configuration or AngularJS or anything at all, but it's just like the simple language that we use. That one little field, the name field.
Yeah.
Yeah, that can solve like 90% of problems sometimes, I feel like.
It really can.
Mm-hmm. All right, Lauren, so what has been one of your favorite projects you've worked on? And why is it your favorite?
Okay. Well, my current favorite is, I get different favorites all year long. But my current favorite is our internal project to redesign the portal for our internal employee users. And I think it's my favorite just because I was given like total freedom to do whatever I wanted. And I always like that. It's scary. It's scary to not have any like guardrails or guidelines.
A lot of responsibility then.
It is a lot of responsibility. But it's really fun too, because then I can try things that I've been wanting to try. I can search for anything, use any sort of inspiration, but then you have to make it all come together. And that's the hard part.
Yeah, nice. What if you could craft your ideal project, what kind of thing would it be? Kind of application or portal? And what kind of design and theme would you do?
Something kind of like minimalist is what I've been wanting to go for. I know like we kind of do that, but I really want to experiment with like extreme minimalist, like lots of white space, like only black and white. I feel
Mm,
like it's very hard to do well, but it's something that I've always wanted to experiment with. But I don't think most portal customers would be into that.
like, do you feel like you'd use more iconography instead of text, that kind of thing, or what?
Yeah, I think it would rely a
Yeah.
lot more on icons, very little imagery. The font choice would be like of the utmost importance.
Yeah, font. That's a good one. You can't let me pick out a font because I will always pick out just a weird one. It's it's either I use this one boring, or if you let me pick, it's going to be goofy.
Yeah, you gotta go down that font rabbit hole. Um, what's been your most recent favorite?
My most recent favorite was for a soft drink company, and this I feel it was kind of my opus day of portal innovations. It was the use case was very, very simple. It was just, employees needed to be able to log into a portal and log a certain kind of incident and view those that they've submitted previously, and that was pretty much it. And it wasn't that complicated of a form. And what they really needed was something that just looked awesome and worked awesome on a mobile device. And so I built a widget that transcribed a record producer and all its variables into a custom form presentation. And I used the Angular material library, which was really nice. They have really nice form elements and stuff. So I replaced all of the different field types with newer versions. And then you could use that form to either submit a new record or view an existing one. So think of like it was a form view, but a record producer was used to populate it and feed it and everything. But the end result was this beautiful little app that felt a lot more like a mobile app than most portals do.
Yeah,
And we did some really cool innovations with how you view related lists and things like that. So I I had a lot of fun working on that because it was probably the most amount of innovation that I've gotten to do on a portal, and it turned out super well. So that was my favorite recently.
yeah, I saw
Yeah,
the work you did on that, and it was really cool.
yeah, thank you. And what I love too is because the customization was worth it because it created an experience for their customers or their users that was just so easy, and it worked really great, and it was really scalable. So I felt that one was a shining example of a time when it's okay to really build something custom and crazy because
Yes.
it was definitely worth it in that scenario. But my ideal project, like if I could craft my perfect project, it would be, ServiceNow kind of stole my thunder. It was that they did what I've been building little components of it here and there, and like thinking of it like the ideal enterprise portal. It would be topic based. You wouldn't have the catalog pages and knowledge bases like you have today. You would have topic pages where you browse a topic, and well, that's where they went. They have one way of configuring it in this new service portal, configuring topics, but another way that I think is really great is when an organization has all of their business services defined really well, and they have catalog content and knowledge content related strategically to all those services. Then you
Mhm.
can build an amazing service oriented portal where, whether it's email or my mobile device or a server that I requested be set up. I have a page devoted to it, and I've got knowledge and catalog items for the things I can do and tickets that I've opened on it. I think that's the ideal self-service portal, and I've been longing for the chance to, to have a customer with all of that architecture in place on the back end of business services and whatnot to actually build out that amazing experience. So I've gotten to do it like in little bits over the years, but never as fully as I've really wanted to. But like I said, the new ESC portal actually does it, so I don't have to build that anymore.
Yeah, that sort of siloing that's getting like really popular on like public websites, I think. I think it would be nice to see that implemented, like you said, especially because like when we're on the portal, when we go to knowledge articles, there's that widget with like related catalog items, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that kind of plays into your idea, but your idea is like, why don't we just do that in the first place instead of
Right. How about you as a ServiceNow? What would you call yourself? Not like a title, but like say they're different kind of artists, right? There's painters, pianists, sculptors. In the ServiceNow world, what are you?
Ooh. I think I have to go with like a pianist because I feel like there's some logic to music. There are like some certain rules that you have to follow, and that's kind of how I am a little bit. Like I'm a little bit logical, but then you kind of have to like do your own thing and like make your own music, write your own songs, do your own designs, and so that's where like I do design things and try to get a little bit out of the box or make a better user experience. So I think that's why I go with that. What would you be?
Let's see. Well, if I think about what is it that I really enjoy doing with ServiceNow is I like finding ways of making things that seem really cool and complex effortless. So I don't know, maybe alchemist, would that be the right word? An alchemist, it's, I don't like to bang my way through things, right? I like to find the way to finesse. So for like an example, in Service Portal, I love making use of the Angular providers and all the different Angular JS methods we have, because you can do really cool stuff with really little effort if you just, know those fine details of how to finesse it. So I feel like an alchemist is similar. I don't know if you'd really consider that an artist though, kind of
I
artist.
don't know, but I like the description for you because I feel like alchemy is like a little bit magical. And sometimes when I see things that you do, I'm like, that's kind of magic.
Well, what I love doing, this is where I really get my kicks. I love doing things with as little code as possible, right? To find things that already exist in the world and combine them together to make something much cooler.